Hello again, Ian Stuck with Mastermind Games, and this is the last Skorne video I'll be doing for the foreseeable future, but it's a big one, the Desert Hydra Gargantuan. Yeah. Well, Shield Brown 09161. And using a much larger brush than I normally would, since I've got a lot of surface area to cover. And this is going on mostly the underbelly. Try to get the most difficult part first. A little twist on the inside. And Desert Hydras apparently cannot be bred in captivity, so the Skorne have to catch them all in the wild. They do regenerate their heads, so the Skorne will generally sever all but one head until they can get it back to a facility where it can be modified and trained. This thing's pretty nasty. 5 initial attacks. You can mix it up between sprays and bites as you see fit. Fury 4 and its Mat and Rat aren't too great, but that's the price it pays for 5 initials. Has snacking. And of course there is the whole regeneration aspect. And I am spattering paint all over the place. This is going to be pretty resource intensive, like all Gargantuans and Colossals, so this is going to take a while. But I got this out of one of Privateer Press's blind random faction boxes. That's why I started Skorne. Just blind luck. But this is impressive. It is one of the all plastic kits. Wasn't even all that tough to assemble, actually. A few odd things, the way some of the heads were attached on, but nothing too awkward. And I need more paint already. But, yeah, this thing, its range attack is an acid spit, so... And the huge based models, well, they have their arcs marked already. In fact, their front arc is split into right and left fields of fire. Don't believe that the Hydra's has restricted weapon arcs, though, like so many Gargantuan Colossals do. I don't care if I'm nicking the top at this point. This is the lowest, one of the lowest areas on the model, so just want to get a throw coat on all these little nubs, or miniature or tiny legs. Millipede-like, I suppose, is the closest parallel. Again, this is a fantasy creature. And it does have steel blades embedded in its necks. Again, the Skorne torture nearly everything they get their hands on and effectively rewire the nervous systems of their war beasts. In order to allow them to do the things they want them to do. So again, that whole conversation on, pulling your punches when you're evil, and when is appropriate and not appropriate. I've mentioned that several times. Just about done, but I do need more paint. And the Hydra has 4 mandibles on each. Well, oh yeah, I think that's the right terminology. Upper, lower jaw, and left and right mandibles. It's a big old bitey thing. Yeah, it's not easy to hold a model with a base this big, but you work with what you got. There aren't all that many colors on here compared to the other Skorne models I've done either, so somewhat simplified color scheme. Just somewhat. And this color scheme is also kind of based on what would be logical for natural desert camouflage, at least for the flesh itself. Okay, that's done. Well, maybe not quite. Okay, all good. There's one more color I can do before I need to let things dry, and that's going to be Deep Red 09002. Getting it started on the mouths. I'll pick out the teeth later, but for now I'm just going to get the insides. Kind of a pretty deep cavity in this head's throat. If this ends up being a longer one, so be it. That's fine. I'm going to show this in its entirety. And the big head. Haven't decided what color eyes he's going to have by the time I'm done with it, but okay, I'm going to let that dry completely before I move on to the next several colors, so back in a bit. Alright, next up, where is it? Taryn Khaki 09122. So I'm going to use a larger brush than I typically do. Working on the most difficult to access areas first, which is going to be inside this coil here. And if you hadn't figured out by now, this is probably going to be one of the longer ones, so you might want to buckle up. I don't feel like talking right now. It's really early in the morning. This is pretty much the first thing I'm doing. Between a lot of people complained, a lot of Skorne players complained about 3rd edition changes. I wasn't playing Skorne when 3rd edition first hit, but from what I gathered from my friends who did, Skorne went from having a small number of really powerful units to having a lot of things getting changed up. But the thing is, if one faction is an I win faction, that is proof positive that the game needs some adjustments. While it's generally better to buff rather than nerf, it's just one of those situations. I'm going to get more paint. I'm basing this color scheme, at least for the flesh of the Hydra, on what would be at least semi-practical as desert camouflage. And just the fact that they added the appellation desert to the creature's name makes me wonder if there's plans to do more Hydras later on. But we'll see. I don't think Privateer Press is in any hurry to do any more Gargantuans or Colossals at this juncture, especially since they're working on structures now. Signar's got their blockhouse. Protectorate's got that little chapel. I've heard that. Oh, what is it? That circle's getting a teleportation circle. We'll see what happens when that's going, but one thing about it though is, okay, yeah, that's definitely a horn. I was wondering about that. Sometimes details don't become too clear until you're actually in the nitty-gritty of it. But comparing the structures to the terrain of Warhammer 40,000, for example, the rules for that in matched play, it's not even close to each other in terms of functionality. And things are starting to come together here. It's just about got one head. The more impressive ones will take longer. That's all there is to it. And as I said, I'm only really playing Skorne for the Grow League, so once this is done, it'll be a while before I touch any more Skorne, but eventually, I don't know how many years from now, I will eventually get a second Hydra. When that happens, I might modify and have some spittle coming off of mouths to see what happens when it happens. But when I get I like to keep one of everything pristine, for lack of a better word, not modified, with second and beyond fair game for that. Though how extensive those modifications get depends on how many sculpts are available in the first place and what I feel like in general. For example, my second Gordson driller uses spare parts from a Convergence of Cirrus kit to show a finishing move. And one of my Convergence inverters has spare parts from a Signar Heavy Jet kit to again show the remains of a fallen enemy. Now I have to hope I have enough paint to finish the job. This bottle of khaki seemed to be running a little thin. Okay. And this dominant head has armor on the spines here. Just to fill up some of this dead air I've created. In terms of movies, there have been several depictions of Hydras. A lot of people might remember Disney's Hercules, but first time I saw Hydra on screen would have been in the Ray Harryhausen film, Jason and the Argonauts. Hydra does come from Greek mythology, after all. The Harryhausen Hydra was done with stop-motion animation, because that was Harryhausen's thing. Absolute master of that particular art. And yeah. My right arm's starting to go a little numb. I don't know why. Maybe I'm sitting on it funny. Let's try to fill up the dead air. Okay. But a third depiction of the Hydra would have been from the Kevin Sorbo show, the late 90s, Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. That was all CGI. Well, early CGI, to be fair. I feel the best effects in movies are actually a combination of practical and CG. Practical when possible, CG filling gaps when it is not practical to do. Practical, oh boy. One of those first thing in the morning brain farts. Neck. I almost feel like I need a break from this, but I think I'll just muscle through. Don't be afraid to take breaks if you need to. I'm more than halfway done on these heads. The rest of the colors will go quicker. These first two are the big ones. Oh crap. Yeah, that is the sound of a nearly empty paint pot. I might have enough out now to do the job. Yeah, some of the assembly of this guy was kind of awkward, but it wasn't the worst thing I've put together. In fact, the other discount blind box I bought wound up being Circle, and the Storm Raptor that came in that was much more difficult to assemble than this Hydra. Okay, last head. Almost. Looks like I missed a piece over here. Because this guy's so large, I'm not going to be as concerned about getting a completely solid coat on this first one. This will make the shading look a little splotchy, but I think that'll work for this. And I need more paint. But the end of this is in sight right now. And I have friends who like to use airbrushing on these larger models. It's not something I've even thought about, so I like doing it this way though. Almost there. Put this right in there. Okay, that's got the khaki. So let that dry, give my arm a rest, and then move on to the next set of details. Alright. Tarnished steel 09206. Here's where it's going to get a little meticulous. The brush I need. Right here. like all Skorne beasts, they've got some hooks into the flesh here. Some of these are a little indistinct, though. Might be a process of the, or an artifice of the process used to make it, but that again, we're talking about a society of sadomasochists, so smaller heads don't seem to have these blades inserted. These sadistic implements of torture would are one of the visual things that makes something distinctly Skorne. And without him, this could be a circle floor beast. Okay, now I'm going to take oiled leather 09110. There's some ropes holding on the helmets. I was originally thinking about doing these in the same red as the mouth, but decided against it. Dominant head has one less because this looks like it's a solid metal plate. Painting that as such. And the purpose of these is obviously to protect one of the more vulnerable areas, possibly the only vulnerable area of these creatures. Okay. And now Marine Teal 09077. I want to do this. Yeah, it's part of the, okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to backtrack on some of the horn here. It's alright. There were certain elements of horn I misinterpreted as armor, so easy enough to go back and fix it later. Probably just go ahead and do that off camera. I'm needing less of this than I initially thought. And only the dominant head has these extra plates along the spines. Don't know if that means these are more vulnerable or if it's just for show and intimidation or to maybe help it act as a battering ram. Alright, I'll go ahead and touch up the khaki I missed while this dries, and then move on the last two base coats. Just two base coats left here. Yellowed bone 09143. We'll get some teeth. Can't remember if this Hydra has rules that cost you attacks and it takes damage, but it might. I haven't done much more than skim the card since I printed it off. And yeah, I prefer a physical card to the app. That's my preference. I actually prefer physical media over digital media. Which is a shame because so many of the Iron Kingdom's related books are digital only. A shorter bristle brush would be better for this actually, but I don't have one right this minute. I'm needing to go restock on certain supplies. That's one of them. You know, it's weird, I glued this thing exactly, and it still seems the teeth on this one are kind of skewed. So, these extra mandibles. The question is, this thing is supposed to be more reptile-like or more insect-like, but the thing is, fantasy creatures don't have to conform to the real-world rules of anatomy and biology. That's something that's so often forgotten. It definitely makes it look more intimidating to have the quadruple mandible jaws. One downside to the Hydra is its matte and red aren't too great. So while your focus could very well be Earth Fury, excuse me. I've been playing War Machine for years, but this is the first time I've actually played a Hordes faction with any regularity myself. But I digress. You'd be spending most of your Fury on boosting to hit. But it does have 5 initial attacks, so if something a little more accurate can headbutt or slam the Hydra's target, that would give it an easy opening to deal out a heaping helping of punishment. 5 initials, it can freely mix between sprays and bites. Total potential, I think it's a Fury 4, so total potential of 9 initial bite attacks. The rules do specify it cannot be forced to make additional spray attacks. Alright, that's teeth. Now, Antique Gold 09050. Let's see if I have a slightly shorter brush I overlooked. No, I do, but it's not the best shape for this, but we'll give it a shot. When I say best shape, I mean a round would be better, and this one's a square. I'll just See if I can pull this off. Much getting the trim on the armor with this. Turquoise and gold turned out very well. Yeah, this is better. I've got much better control here. Yeah, these last coats are going much faster than the first two. Mostly due to lesser surface area, but this is essentially a unit or 2 or 3 heavies all in one kit, or one model. Let's see here, how's that done? Okay. Just to match, I'll pick out the spikes in gold. This is where tight control really pays off. Of course, the dominant head here will take more time than the rest combined. It's coming together nicely, though. This better bridge here. Getting a little tongue-tied. Let's do that in the gold. Yeah, that might clash if I put the silver in there. It'll look kind of strange. Definitely looks better with the gold on there. much water there. You want to dilute and thin your paints, but not too much, at least not at this step. Just takes practice to get the right mix figured out. Just about done. Still don't know why I keep whispering. It's completely unnecessary, and yet for some reason, keep doing it anyway. Okay, that's got the dominant head and the bulk of the work done. I've got exactly enough paint out to get the job done right. Like I said, a round brush would definitely be better for this, but you work with what you got. I need something with shorter bristles, and this is the only one I have right now that'll even be remotely suitable. Alright, that gets base coat, so once that's completely dry, I can begin to shade. Alright, back in a little bit then. Alright, time to start shading. Ancient Bronze 09049. About half paint, half water. Just try to keep things in camera this time. this. Well, how I'm going to do this? The answer is very carefully. Found a round head brush I had overlooked, but it's not in the best shape, but it'll be serviceable. So busy the last few weeks, I literally have not had a chance to get to a art supply store to get a decent set of replacement brushes. And quality matters. While many hobby stores will have brushes for, 5 to 10 a piece, it'll be great. You can also go to a craft store like Michael's or Hobby Lobby and get a decent set for just $10 for about half a dozen or so, depending on quality. But I've also had decent luck at discount stores like TJ Maxx or Ross for brushes, but those stores carry things that are either discontinued or slightly defective, so it's kind of a gamble on if you're going to find something worthwhile, but every once in a while you can come across some good stuff. Those short blue-handled brushes I was using for a while, for example, came from one of those discount stores, so don't overlook them. After all, I'm sure most of you would rather spend your money on more models than supplies. So, sharing the intel. Okay, so let's see here. Let's go ahead and do the steel next. So, Blackened Steel 09205. Base coats are going to go from the highest area on the model to the lowest. Shading low. No. Base coat's lowest area to highest. Shading highest area to lowest. And then highlights will be lowest area to highest. Well, I see I'm still trying to get conscious. Keep your brush nice and wet for shading all around. Some of the barbs on the diamond head are really indistinct, especially on the right side there. I think I'll go ahead and do the teeth. So stained ivory 09142. Okay, that's going to leave the rope, the teal, the khaki, and the brown. Oh yes, and the red. Almost forgot about the red. Rope, teal, khaki, brown, red. Alright, let that dry completely. Move on as soon as I can. Alright, next up, Deep Ocean 09076. Deep. Oh, this brush might be about shot. Just need to last a little bit longer, though. Should I make that? Oh, it's okay, I'll get it fixed. Okay. Ruddy Leather 09109. Got the ropes here. And I conked my camera again. Alright, that leaves the red, the khaki, and the brown. So, let it dry again, and we'll move on in a little bit. Okay, now for one of the big ones, Khaki Shadow 09121. This could get a bit tricky. Oh, don't tell me my neighbors are in it again. You know what, I warned my neighbors that I do these videos, so, you know. Well, they claim they're yelling at their landlord. I have doubts about that veracity, but or rather the veracity of that claim is what I doubt, so. But they want to interrupt me while I'm working on this. Well, they've been warned. Okay. The problem here is I'm in kind of a rough situation no matter what I do because of the surface area to cover with this model. So let's just try switching back and forth between different brushes. See if I can make it work. And this will be somewhat awkward no matter how I do it in the end. A lot of undercuts, small details to get, and this is where it is critical to get a thorough coat. Also be easier because the paint will run into the crevices more easily than it did with base coats. I'm okay with the paint running into that brown there. That'll come out when I do that shading there. Just gonna worry about getting each head individually. Maybe this takes an extra take to get all the shading done right, but we'll see what happens when it happens. This is the trickiest head on this thing, or one of them. But there is a real-world precedent for multi-headed animals. It's a mutation that happens most often in snakes, but even then it's kind of rare. And when it does happen in snakes, the heads do not cooperate and act as if they were each on a separate animal. One seems to be dominant in most documented cases, but in the end, in many times, one of the heads will try to kill the other one, not necessarily realizing they're connected to the same body. There was a two-headed snake caught in the, can't remember what state, just this past year. That survived for several days before, at least in captivity, before dying. But again, the multi-headed mutation, it's not something that, what's the word I'm looking for? Not something that's beneficial to survival in the end, apparently. Tends to be fatal. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear that shouting or not. And at this point, I am not going to bother trying to cover it up like I did the last time they did this. I already warned them, you know, this is something I do. I've said that 2 or 3 times already. This is a severe irritation for me at this point. As I have found, their little temper tantrums can happen at any time, day or night. I've even lost sleep from them starting a shouting match at some like midnight, 2, 3 in the morning. Yeah, frustrating. Okay, looks like they're done yelling at each other for now. And I've had noisy neighbors here before, but there's a big difference between a neighbor who runs loud music and a neighbor who just gets into these verbal slugfests. I think I just conked my camera there. Alright, that's gonna be the most nerve-wracking part. Getting around the golden teal there. So pick this up a bit at this point, or pick up the pace a bit. Okay, I'm not sure if that was a high-pitched scream or a squeaky door. Could be either. Alright, It's the big one. Okay, I'm doing pretty good with this larger brush on this, so I think I'm okay without switching. But I do have to be very careful. I have to stay controlled. Okay, last head, and then I can move on to the rest of the body. Still have to do the red for the inside of the mouth, but I think I'll hold off on that and do that when I do the brown. It looks like this head doesn't have a left eye. Don't know if that's a sculpting error or if I'm just not seeing it. I'll worry about it once the shading's done, since I won't do it till I'm finished with that anyway. Let's track where it was for a second there. Backtracking to hit something I had missed. If you hear any beeping during these next few segments, it's just because I'm doing my laundry simultaneously with this, so just set a timer to be polite to my many neighbors, because limited number of laundry rooms for a fairly large number of owners and tenants. Simply a common courtesy thing. And I'm going to need a little more paint to finish this. I shouldn't be surprised, though. That's not the right color. Here we go. There we go, that's better. Now, does that get a thorough coat on? Yep, okay. Let's get the rest of the body now. Yep, paint's starting to drizzle off the edge of the base. That was expected, though. That's why you go high area to low area when shading, because it will run down. Back in these areas where I can't quite get the brush and I'm counting on that. What was that? That is no one of consequence. So that can just, I have a Wyoming cell phone number I've had for years. And there is unfortunately a lot of scam calls originating from Wyoming, targeting Wyoming phone numbers because, well, the education up there is terrible and people are generally gullible up there. And people think they can just get away with it. What disgusts me is so many of these scam callers try to pass themselves off as military veteran programs or other civil service type programs. But the latest thing is scammers claiming to be the police, saying they're the cops. If you don't call this number, you're going to get arrested. Police never refer to themselves as the cops, for starters. They don't make threats like that over the phone, for second. And third, they will always, if the police do need you to call them, they will politely tell you, give you a specific contact person, not just talk to anybody at the station, because cases are usually handled by a small number of, an individual case is going to be given to one, maybe two officers to handle, not in most cases, not the entire department as a whole. Okay, yeah. Sorry for that rant, but those calls just tick me off to no end. And one good way to tell is if they don't leave a message, they've got nothing important to say. And scammers generally won't, because they'll either move on or are on robocall. Okay, that gets the khaki. A little more right on that spine there. Let that dry and then finish up the shading. But getting there. Getting there really well. Well, okay. Let's get the last of the shading done. My neighbors are yelling again. I'll start with red brick 09001. Good grief. Good bloody grief. Now this is a situation where a longer brush, more flexible, will work to your advantage. So I carefully fill in the rows of the mouths, tongues, and throats as far back as I can. Yep, this is what I'm dealing with down there. And like I said, I've already warned them I do these videos. They know I do these. Oh, good gravy. Alright, that's got the mouths. Seems this is not completely dry all around, but it's enough to work with. Alright. Last one. Woodstain Brown 09160. I don't know why I keep getting music from the Wizard of Oz stuck in my head. It's completely beyond me. But, yeah. I'm trying to paint a Hydra. And they're having a low-grade shouting match down there over I don't care what. About ready to call the police and call into a disturbance of the peace. They keep this up. I am about ready to just shout out as loud as I can. Let them know, I can hear them up there, or down there. Now I need to be very careful around the blades so I don't nick them with this. Oh, they finally get it down. Okay, that's one. Well, actually, 3 heads done already. Alright. Some of this drips onto the khaki from above. That's okay. That's what it is. It's fine. Yeah, I have already given those neighbors plenty of notice that I do these videos. That I am, work on these fairly consistently. They got no right to complain if their temper tantrums end up on YouTube because they were warned. And it is unfair to me to disrupt my life every time they decide they're having a bad day and want to have a shouting match. Audible from space. Are they done? Well, we'll see. Alright, I've got most of the inside there, so I just need to hit this little bit here. So, which seems to have a little bit of a khaki on it still, that's alright. This part's going to be a little tricksy. There we go. Give me just a little more of that paint. And the brush falls off my brace. It's okay. Alright, that's got the shading. Now I'll go ahead, since the khaki's dry in the eye sockets, and blood red 09003. And fill those in. Take the most awkward grip on this. You know, I gotta wonder, does yelling at something really make people feel better? It really doesn't make me feel better. I tend only to yell when I am in pain, actually, more than angry. Something no one around me ever seems to get, despite me telling them directly, you know. Okay, yeah, the eye here is kind of funny. I'm wondering if this side was miscast, but that gets them. And as soon as that's completely dry, I can highlight, base it, and finish up. Okay. Time to, well, do I want to put, you know what, I like the eyes just straight red like that, so time to highlight. Blood red 09003. And I believe my noisy neighbors have left, so hopefully I can finish this up before they come home and start yelling again. Yeah. Dry brushing, so I'm rubbing the brush on a paper towel till it looks like there's almost nothing left, and just lightly dusting. I'm worried about getting the tongues and there's the mouth, and there's still a bit of wet paint on here, so I'm only gonna be able to do part of this, unfortunately. So that's not happy. So, alright. Fine. Fine, I guess I can only do part of it, so Alright, I'll do the tongue, or tongues, about 5 of them. And switching brushes and Creamy Ivory 09144. And I'll do the teeth. And I'll have to wait for this to dry completely before I get the brown, the khaki, and all the rest. Oh boy, this is plugged up. Paperclip to the rescue. This is really plugged up. Okay. There we go. There's some paint. Well, I guess I'm wrong about my neighbors being gone. I didn't see any of their cars in their parking spaces, but they're yelling again. All right, fine. Okay, well, since there's still some brown dry, I'm just gonna have to wait and let it do its thing, so back as soon as I can. We're gonna try again. Driftwood brown 09162. And again, working on the lowest area on the model to the highest for the highlights. And that brush is too small for this step. Let's see here. This one. I'm concerning myself mostly with what is readily visible. Alright, let's work on one head at a time here. So that clunking noise, this is a plastic sculpt, and the area inside is mostly hollow, which helps to save on the materials on the production end of things. So it makes perfect sense. It's still structurally sound, so excuse me, no complaints here. I think I've got exactly enough out here to do what I need to do. Okay, that worked okay. Clean that out, and I'm just going to go ahead and switch brushes. That one should be fine. And Khaki Highlight 09123. A little too much paint on that one. Again, my focus is going to be on what's most readily visible. I'm also going to use this step to fix any places that didn't get enough of the shader base coat. Focusing on one head at a time now. Try to keep in camera this time. Seems I've been having trouble with that lately again. pal's being a little too used up. Let's just try to refill that. That's a bit better. Alright, just about done with this one. Okay, that's got the khaki brush cleaned out. Stretch my arm a bit. Get the next paint ready. It's going to be burnt orange 09111. And its bottle is clogged, so unclogging with a paper clip off camera here, right behind it. Oh, too much paint. Okay. Let's do this one. Brush selection is important. Again, a case of having the right tool for the job. Okay. True Silver 09207. Not you. It's a quick dusting along these blades stuck in their carapace. And Surf Aqua 09078. Yeah, just about done. This is where the contrast between light and dark areas is really standing out. All right. Just one color left to highlight. Now I can get my brush out of here. Since your brush does need to be completely dry, I've been swapping liberally. New gold 09051. Get the little heads first and end with the big head. While this is much lighter than a resin model would be, since this is all plastic, it does still have a bit of weight to it, and it is a bit awkward to hold. Using a little more straight paint where the gold nicked or where the gold was nicked by other colors. Just about done. Okay, that's got highlights. There's no details per se to do, so I can move right on to the basing, and this is going to be easier. So deep red 09002. I don't need to overextend the arc because on all these huge based models, they have the arcs, including the fields of fire, predefined actually. So, flathead brush. There's a nub right there, so I'll pick out in another color when I'm done. And one on the front here as well. You can see that right there. Be a little careful around the toes. Well, I don't know if that's a technical term for an appendage like that, but that's what I'll call them right now. Okay. Clean that brush out. Take Pure Black 09037. That's squared out in a weird direction. Might be about empty. Which might be a good thing given how mangled the threads on this bottle are. I can hardly close it now. Going right up to that nub on the base. This is an awkward way to hold it, but I don't want to be touching the base itself while I'm doing this. Pinning right up to the other nub. Okay. Now, looking awesome. Need to let that dry completely, and then I can do the last few details on the base and get the sand on there. Alright, dry enough to finish up. I'll start with Pure White 09039. Where's my brushes? There we go. Doing a Roman numeral 1 on the back of the on the back of the base. Because while it might be years away, I will eventually get a second Desert Hydra. That just helps differentiate. I'm taking new gold again, 09051. I'm going to just pick out these nubs delineating the front arc and the left and right fields of fire. I just need to give this a few minutes to dry and then I can get the sand on. Alright, time to get the sand on, so white, blue, and water. Generous amount of both. A sacrificial brush is on its last legs. Yeah, this isn't the best choice I have on brushes to use for this. taking a little bit longer than I would like, though, but that's okay. That is what it is. Painting around the feet, or whatever these nubs will be called. Hope I just drifted onto the actual body. This inner area is going to be tricky. Not just oversaturated, I suppose. Let gravity do as much of the work as I can. Alright, it'll be okay. Everything will be fine. It's just going to be a little funny in places. That'll be alright. So I can fix it all. Another funny place near the tip of the tail. Again, I got this. Okay. Now I can't obviously fit him in the container like I normally would, but I can just take handfuls and do it this way. It's more awkward, but, well, I'm working with what I've got. Okay. Bit more on this end. Brushing off any that hit the end here. I'm taking a spirit brush that's dry, per usual, just brushing away from where I don't want the solution, or want the material, you know what I'm trying to say. Alright. A little more there. Let's use the end of the brush that actually has bristles on it. Right. Alright, now I just need to let that set for a bit, and then I can seal it. Alright, last step. A sprayer brush on adhesive. I'm using Woodstain cement glass eyedropper because this stuff will bond to plastic very swiftly. Being careful not to nudge this thing with my elbow while I work. Just carefully drip it around. The material will soak this up If you don't give it time to set first, this will do nothing more than push your material around. Again, be generous. Well, yeah, be generous, but don't, go too overboard, I guess. Not to get it moist. Or wet. I'm starting to slaughter the English language again, which should be pretty terrifying because it's the only language I speak. And then again, I know a lot of people who consider English their primary language and still don't speak it, so I think I need a little more on the front here, so let's fix that up. Easy to do. Just sprinkle a little bit. There's a chunk there. Let's see. Okay. Okay. Clean out tools. Oh, and I just dropped my eyedropper in my paint water here while I was cleaning it. Alright, that's okay. Alright. Well, it's been a long one, but there we go. The Desert Hydra from the Skorne faction of Hordes. This is going to be the last Skorne video I do for the foreseeable future. But I still have more War Machine and Hordes coming up, as well as plenty of Malifaux. But next, going back into Blackstone Fortress. So, until next time, I am Ian Stokey with Mastermind Games, signing out.